Let's talk about adding a belt. Many of our garments that we are knitting could be worn with a belt or without a belt, and that is a personal choice that you can make based on your body type. I'd like to suggest that it would be kind of fun for you to try adding belts to those. On the left, you see the little jacket is worn unbelted. A very nice look, no problems. It would be fun to wear, easy to wear, either sleeveless or you could put a turtleneck under it or another sweater under it. On the right-hand side, the same sweater has had a belt added to it. Now, because the belt has been added, that width in the waist area has been contained and brought in, and it makes the mannequin look as if it were slimmer. So it's just an idea for you to possibly try this for some of the items that you might be making. So what are the parts of doing a belt? You need some kind of a belt loop, and you need a rectangle of your yarn. The belt loop I'll talk about on the next slide, but the rectangle can be left squared off or it can be pointed, and I'll show you an example of a pointed one in a moment. You want to take your tape measure, put it around your waist, and add 6 inches to that because you will need a little extra length to be able to close the belt. And there are several different ways I'm going to be talking to you about how to do that. In this tutorial, I used a 2-inch bone ring that's called Luxite, Luxite. It's in the Susan Bates section of your knitting shop that comes 5 in a package. I think there are some a little bit larger, some a little bit smaller, but I like the 2-inch wide belt the best for my knitting belts. You can go wider or narrower as your body likes or prefers. But this is easily located at any craft store or any yarn shop because it's a popular accessory that can be used for other things. Here you see Lurex added to the main yarn, and it is belted. Now you can decide whether you want the belt to run with the stripes going across the belt of Lurex, which give you that an interesting effect and kind of stops the eye where you're not adding width to the garment, and I kind of like that. Somehow the belt running in this direction breaks up the expanse and makes the body look slimmer. It's an optical illusion, but I like the way that the illusion works on the garments that I'm belting. And here you see this, the Lurex ring has been covered with the yarn. Now you certainly can also run the pattern, the length of your piece. If you have enough needles on your knitting machine, you can take them out to the length that you need to have in order to get your measurement plus the 6 inches. It's your choice. Try both ways and see which one you like the best. It's just kind of fun to experiment when you're working with creating accessories to wear with your garments. Here I have the little bit closer look at this with it off of the surface so that you are not trying to look at the surface of the pattern on the little jacket and have this pattern at the same time. Here I have put the end at a point, and I like doing that, but it totally is an option, and it's certainly not necessary, but just kind of a fun option. Now when you are closing your belt, you have several options. One of them is I like to just take my tail of my belt, run it through from the front back to the back, and put a snap. Then I don't have to do anything or worry or figure out how I'm going to get the belt closed. This is one option that you can have. This is another option where you are taking it. You can either bring it from the back out to the front, run the loop through your knitting band of the belt, so you can go either way, back to front or front to back, and just experiment with fun ways to get all kinds of little different ties and shapes and things like that. And that's why you need that extra length on your piece. On the bone ring itself, I have just, after I've crocheted, I just put the belt through and pull it back and hand stitch it or machine stitch it across so that it holds the ring. So looking at that again, on this end, I have just turned the belt I put it through from the right side, pull it to the back, bring it far enough to where I have a little bit, about a 3/4 of an inch or so. I like to hand whip all the way around that so that the edges are nice. And I also like to sew it with a sewing machine because remember I manufacture for stores, so they get a lot more tugging and carrying on than your belt would at home to wear for your own personal wardrobe. Now, one of the things that you need to look at is that you can stretch these belts out. Now, when you are working with putting your belt on, when you are pulling it through and just snapping it, you don't have a tendency to stretch it quite as much as if you were pulling it through and trying to figure out how to get the point to loop through and that kind of thing. So I want to caution you about getting extra vigorous about stretching because it can stretch out your belt. You have two choices. You can either launder it after you have stretched it, or you can hand steam it. So consider wearing things belted as well as wearing them unbelted, and you have two new looks for your knit that you have spent so much time and energy creating. These are just rectangle panels. You know I love doing rectangles, and if you're interested, you can join my rectangle course, and I'll put some information below the video so that you can see how you can do that if you'd like. So